Welcome back, guys. Mike here from Real Lounge Entertainment with another movie review. Today, we're going to be reviewing one of Netflix's newest horror movies, Fear Street Prom Queen. Now, as a big fan of the original three, let's see if this one holds up. So, join us while we cover Fear Street Prom Queen. Now, this movie is rated R and came out this year. It didn't release in the theaters, so it doesn't have a box office, but has a crazy budget of $70 million. We'll definitely be talking about that at the end of the video, where that money went. And for surprisingly a low score of 27 on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I didn't watch anybody's review of this movie, but I do know lots of people do not like it and are being very harsh on it. So do I agree with them? Well, let's talk about it and find out. So the first thing I want to say about this movie is we're not going to go into too many spoilers. I want you to watch it for yourselves. And since it's a newer movie, let's just keep it like that and try to stay on the edges of the movie. This story follows Lori, a girl in high school who wants to become prom queen. Now, she really basically wants to do that because her mom ran for prom queen, but the prom was canceled when her husband was murdered while she was pregnant with her. So she wants to kind of do it for her mom. The other girl is Tiffany. She's like the cool girl in school, and she has a whole pack of friends called the Wolf Pack, and they're all the other ones running too. And they're basically horrible characters. This movie takes place in the 80s, and it's 80s as hell, and I love it. Now, the music is great. Not even just the soundtrack. They have tons of hits from the 80s in this movie, and it really gives you the feel like you've gone back to the 80s. But it also has a really good score. It's the similar score that was used in the original Fear Street trilogy that came out a couple years ago, and it just works great for this series. This series needs to continue, and it needs to keep adding on the original soundtrack they have going for it because it's just great. It also feels like it was shot in the 80s. The cinematography in this movie works perfectly. The lighting, the sets, it mostly takes place inside of a high school. After only about 20 minutes, we get right into the prom, so hats off to them. This movie goes at a very fast pace and never really slows down at any point. You can say this about this movie. It's not very original. That's not too big of a problem for me. So it's kind of in the middle. Doesn't really bring anything new to the horror game or a movie game, and I don't have a problem with that. I just got to sit down and shut my brain off for an hour and a half and just enjoy it. I've already watched this movie twice, and I'll probably watch it again in like a year or so, and that's a good sign. I want the series to continue. So far, all 4 movies have been very solid, and I can see this working very well as a TV show for Netflix, doing like 1-hour episodes. But back to the movie. It's very, very violent. That's one thing that they don't stay away from, which you think they would. Very violent. Lots of different weapons used in this movie. And as far as the killer goes, it's kind of like a shiny red raincoat. I don't mind that so much, but the mask doesn't do it for me so much. It just doesn't really fit. The shiny red raincoat, that's a tongue twister, really feels like the book series. Now, I've only read a few, and actually, here's the cover for this one right here. It's just called Prom Queen. This movie just feels like those covers. You go through and look at all the original covers for Fear Street. This movie series has done such a good job of just feeling like those covers. And those covers are pretty darn cool. It just throws me back to being a kid and seeing my sister who used to read the Fear Street books, just seeing those books laying around and just thinking they were really cool looking. So I think that's a pretty sweet thing. Lori, the character doesn't really evolve too much. She changes from being just like, a shy, unpopular girl, and for some reason she wants to be prom queen, which I know we talked about. It's because her mom doesn't really seem to fit her character at all that she really wants to be. She has a best friend named Megan, and their friendship is great, and that's one of the reasons why this movie works so well. Their friendship together just feeds off of each other, and her friend is also another loser in the school who likes horror movies and is kind of like a pothead too. So that's a fun aspect in this movie when we see Megan in her room at the beginning of the movie. She's got like a zombie poster, which is sweet. She's reading like a Fangora magazine. She makes like her own like little FX makeup things and like pretends to cut off her hand in the classroom. So, you know what? I probably would have been really good friends with her in high school. But, that's just me. As far as the other characters go, it's just your basic ones. You got your like jocks, you got the bullies, you got just, the pretty girls. You have one that kind of switches over and starts feeling bad for teasing. We also have a backstory involving Laurie's father, who was killed, and her mom was arrested for originally, but for some reason she got off. They don't go in too deep on this one at all, but it does go into the end of the movie. So you gotta pay attention a little bit, but not so much. I'm not gonna give you who the killer is, but I will say this about it. They don't really give you enough clues to figure it out. So they leave it open, and they have a whole bunch of people that they've kind of set up to make you think could be the killer, but there's no real steps in this movie to give you any idea who it really is. So you're kind of just blindly guessing. I guessed one right, and, but I got one wrong too. So just don't think too hard about it, but go ahead, have fun guessing. So as far as this movie goes, the acting will suffice. It's a little corny at times, but it kind of works in the whole thing. Shadyside is a very different place. You feel like it's kind of like a parallel universe, kind of like something John Carpenter created, his own little world. But this is RL Stine's world. So everything that all these Fear Street movies, some of them are connected, some of them aren't, but it all takes place in Shady Place, and it's a very cool world that I just want to revisit. So I hope this movie, even though it got low scores from people, I hope it continues because I really want to see where these stories are going to go, especially since there's a credit scene. Not going to tell you what it is, but it does kind of connect to the original trilogy and opens it up to what could be in the future for the series. So I'm intrigued. I hope Netflix keeps going with it. They gave it too much money. We'll talk about that in just a second. But please, Netflix, please continue with this series. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. So I give this movie probably about a 2.5, which is pretty solid considering it's just a mediocre horror movie, but it's fun. And that's all I cared about. I don't need everything to be life-changing. I don't need everything to change, how Hollywood looks at this movie. Sometimes movies can just be entertainment, and that's what this one is, and it does it well. Not amazing, but well. So give it a try. Don't listen to what other people are talking negatively about it. Maybe you don't like it after you watch it, but it's worth giving it a try. Now, going back to Netflix, they spent $70 million on this budget reportedly. I don't know where the money went. I figure a huge chunk of that probably went to the music rights because they have a lot of hit songs from the 80s, and they can't be cheap. But you also only have like 2 actors in this movie that I actually recognize, and neither one is at what I would call like A-list stars. So they can't be that expensive. So where did this money go? There's only so many locations it was shot. Lots of the actors and actresses are young, so they didn't cost much. The sets and stuff, sure, you're getting stuff from like the 80s, but this movie should probably cost like $15 million. So I don't know where that money went, unless it goes towards like the sequel or something, but $70 million, Netflix needs to tighten the button so we can get more movies. If you're trying to recoup $70 million, this series is done right now. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you, there's no way they can keep going with those budgets for these type of movies. And then going back to the fact that this is based on a book, I haven't read this book, but if you did, please tell me, does this movie follow the book or is it very different? I can imagine that there's not too much similar from the book to this movie. I'm sure they changed a lot, but let me know in the comments. And just like that, that'll do it for Fear Street Prom Queen. Please join us next week while I do another movie review. Check us out because I'm sure Wesley will have some trivia shorts going on, and Tyler will always be updating us with his reactions to movie trailers and anything that happens in Hollywood and media. He's going to give us live updates, and that's going to be pretty sweet. So please join us next week and the following week, and like and subscribe. Thank you.